Hello, it's Lucas here, and I've got a mock showcase for you. This here is a ship called the Valiant. It is a modified version of an old ship my brother made a long time ago. It originally started off as this big, but now, changed that just a little bit. We should start here by looking at the minifigures. Now, I'm not sure what era this is going to be from, so as of right now we got the pilot, or one of the people who would pilot it. I just have him down here, is Jack Darm. He's my character. You would have seen him if you watched the X-Wing video, but he's kind of like the best pilot in his group, so you know, got him. If it was from the Clone Wars era, that would be him. Rebellion era, this would be him, a lot older. And then, if we want to do the sequel stuff, this is him really old, but he probably, well, actually I don't know. That might be who pilots this. He might pilot in the sequels. That was kind of our idea. But this is also his astromech droid, Clearhead. I believe he's also in the X-Wing video. So, that's just the minifigures down. I just have him here because I was messing around with his design, so he would most likely be the pilot of the ship. And anyway, let's get into the ship. We'll start with the bottom, where we have the landing gear right here. This is the lifts thing. This is how it lifts off the ground, just indicated by those red markings. In the front, you've got some lights, front mounted lights. There we go, a little grill piece there, and this nice swiveling cannon, which can go in all sorts of directions, up, down, left, right, you know. Then moving further back, in here is actually where all the power cells are kept. This is where the ship gets most of its power, from right in here. So I just put a few yellow pieces in there to represent that. Over here is a landing sensor piece, and then moving forward we got some more detail. And right back here is actually the hyperdrive, or at least that's what I like to call it, because it's big, it's bulky, and this is the hyperdrive. This is where all the technology for the hyperdrive is stored, so that whenever they need to exit a planet really fast, they can just use that hyperdrive to get out. And then more on the back, of course, we've got pretty much the same landing gear as on the front, just a little bit different. And also these small little engines, which on these wings are actually like missile launcher type cannons on these nice flat wings. This grill detail, I don't know what this is for, but it's just a little bit of detail that's been there since the start, so that's pretty neat, and I kept it there. And I guess we should go on to this section. Right here is actually where the astromech droid would be kept, so there's a little hollow spot. You would just pull up on these tiles, place your astromech droid in there, put those tiles back on, and there you go. And these cannons can be controlled by a gunner, which would sit in this compartment, which we'll get to when you get to the interior, or it can be controlled by this astromech droid. So these cannons are pretty powerful. Dual cannons. The outer cannons I'd expect would be stronger just because they look a little bit thicker, and these are very thin. So this would be used to destroy any enemy ships coming from behind, because obviously it's a lot bigger back here when there's absolutely no protection. Regardless, let's get back to the front. This here is actually the original windscreen also. It's a very nice big windscreen, usually used for boats, so it's pretty interesting that it's used right here. And you can even see there's a little bit of that windscreen is continued downward. And there's also some nice shaping, a lot of different angles. This is kind of like another front grille, but this piece in here remove this bar, this is actually a disc launcher. So that's a pretty interesting part usage. I didn't come up with that part usage, so I mean it works really well. And moving onto this side, because this one's a little more interesting. Up here is actually the engines, top engines. There's one on the other side which looks exactly the same, but we'll get to the other side shortly. But we've just got some other piping, little details to suggest different mechanisms. This, I thought, kind of looked like a communication system, so that's probably what I'd call that. But the most important part to me is right over here, where if you pull down on this ladder piece, and then pull on this tile, it's kind of hard to open up. You got a doorway straight in, so you can grab your minifigure. Let's readjust his hands. Grab him. You can climb up in there, which was something that was missing, and that I really wished I could have added back when because I updated this version before, and I wish I could have added it on this version, or at least I really wanted to add it on this version, but eventually I was able to add it on here, so everything ended nice and well. Moving on, I guess we're on the other side. Some more detail. This is some greebling from the original version, which is so is this, but I guess that doesn't really matter. And then once again, more greebling, just little panel pieces, a ladder, a hinge piece, and this walkie-talkie, all different things just to make this thing look so much more detailed and more intricate, just like down here on the hyperdrive with all these different pieces. And then we've also got, I guess we should probably go to the top actually. There's a little bit of striping detail here with a vent, and then moving further, it's very hard to look at this because it's very big, or because it has very big wings, but this is just the top cannon. It goes up and down. And up here, these are actually the power cells for the top part of this cannon. But that is the exterior, and I'll give you one more shot around it, just so you can see all the different details that go into this build, like this overhang, and all these different things, like this wire to the door, and the white stripe that goes all the way around. And now we'll get on to the interior. Alright, moving on to the interior. This is how you access the interior. You'll just pull up on this cannon, and that's the connection point. It'll be very hard to look into that, but also there's there's an easy access for the gunner. And if you want to access the front even easier, you can just pull off on that. And that's the full access to the interior. So I'll try to get, I'll try to make it a little bit easier for us to access the actual interior bits. So now, with all those pieces missing, it should be a lot easier. Right up front here is the control console. Over here, this is the joystick to control it, the fuel gauge. This is a screen that just kind of looks cool. It's the bridge of a Star Destroyer here. A little more, a few more different controls. So we'll wait for the minifigures later. But there's this center control console, which has just some other basic controls. And then moving over to the co-pilot, they've got the cannon controls, so they have some of the weapon, or they do some of the weapon, so they would shoot some of the weapons with the help of this controller, and then this would be the hyperdrive navigation. So they would punch in where they want to go, and then the hyperdrive will take them there. Moving further back, well actually, we'll put some minifigures in here to show off. You just would, there's Pilot Jack from the X-Wing video. And then we got this guy. This is another Jack. Well, actually, no, this is Nolan Dark. This one is a Nolan Dark, so it's not a Jag. I know I kind of promised that it'd all be Jag piloting, but that one's Nolan Dark. And moving further back in here, well, actually, I'll just pull these out because they are loose. We have some crates for storing things. In this one is 2 thermal detonators. So just a pretty nice little box. And then this one is a pistol, in case you ever get boarded by the Empire, which no one likes that. Just me. Moving further, this is a seat which would hold another Jack Darm minifigure right here. You can just sit in there. And then you can see that the crates are actually not held on by full studs, making them really easy to just remove whenever you want to. Further back here, this is their kitchen setup, so they've got this table. And if you open this up, there's a walnut in there, just because that was the only thing I had. I would have put a cookie in there, but I couldn't. And also this green liquid. I don't know what it's supposed to be, but I definitely wouldn't drink it. Moving further, we got the actual stove. It's very hard to see from this angle, but you can just see this is like some other little things. This is where you make your food. It's nice and hot in the middle. There's actually a flame piece in there, but you can't really see it. And then other little controls. There's even a little pipe. I don't know if I'll be able to get a good shot of it. Yeah, it's right there. There's a little pipe that goes straight into it. And we'll just have a Jedi Jack in there. So he's just working at the oven. And then the last place is the gunner position, which is the hardest to reach with this. But you can see a little targeting computer and an extra little console, which would just help the person in the gunner position. It's very hard to do this camera, but the gunner would just sit in the seat there. And I mean, the view is kind of obstructed by the astromech droid, but it's not that bad. You just look around the astromech droid and you'll be alright. But anyway, let's put this all back together and end off this video. So, let's put all the engines back together now. This is a very important ship, or at least to me, as I've had it for forever. At least my brother built it way back when we first ever started our custom Star Wars series that we made. Jack Darm actually being one of the oldest characters, I feel like. I mean, he was, when I was at least introduced into that Star Wars world, he was my first character that I made. And he wasn't only in Lego form, there's other different things with him, but this isn't about him. It's about the ship. The ship is so old and such a staple of our Star Wars series to me. Back when it was, heck, even smaller than this. It was just something so special. And so, when I got this version, or when I started building this version, I really wanted to capture it as well as I could in the scale that my brother always wanted it to be in. Because, I mean, that was the main reason why they no longer, or why we stopped using this ship, was just, it was meant to be so big, yet it's so tiny. And so I wanted to really capture that scale. The scale of what it should be, so that you can see it flying around. And you wouldn't be thinking it's out of scale. It would make sense, especially when put next to Jack's X-Wing. Because this is Jack's X-Wing. You can see they look pretty decent next to each other compared to what this thing looked like next to it. It was ridiculous. But there it is. Really special. And anyway, I just wanted to add a little bit extra to this because I have made some changes to this since you last saw it. It's actually brought it back to, it's pretty close to the original length of the old X-Wing. I know I talked about how I made it shorter in that video, and that was like because it was his own custom, but it doesn't really make sense, and so I made it longer again. It's nice and weathered and back to its correct size. The torpedoes are connected onto the side now, and you can see there's actually a full droid area, which you can just put them in and then close this off. All that's pretty simple, and also there's some landing gear, tiny landing gear, which fit in this bottom compartment, so that when you don't want it landed, you can just store them in there, which also doubles as the compartment that is actually on the real X-Wings, which you can see in The Empire Strikes Back. When Luke is leaving Dagobah, you see this hatch opened up. So, there it is. It's pretty nice. I've made some pretty nice upgrades to it, including on the engines. But I just wanted to add that, because I didn't want to make an entire video on that. But anyway, this is the Valiant, and this is such a special ship. And if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss any of my videos. I post monthly, and occasionally I will post a video on a day other than the first of the month. So you need to subscribe so that you can see that. And anyway, that's all with this video. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.